Good evening and welcome to the Lord of the Rings Online. I am the Middle-earth visitor and this is my beginner's tutorial to the crafting system. I'm here today in Combe of an evening with my level 14 captain who I recently made. I am wearing a cosmetic outfit that I put together from items gained on other characters, but I think I'll probably do a tutorial on the cosmetic outfit system another day. But today I am going to teach you how to craft items at a lower tier, introduce you to the crafting system and what the different vocations are, and I'm going to show you how to collect resources and how to make some basic items. I'm also going to show you how it works leveling up through the tiers of the crafting system. Alright, so here I am in lovely Combe. If I just stick the map on, you can see that I am round about the centre of Breeland in Middle-earth, a region of Middle-earth which goes from about level 1 to level sort of 21, 22. It's one of the starting areas. Archit in Breeland is one of the starting areas in the game, and Combe is the first settlement you get to when you leave Archit, which is why there is a crafting hall in Combe. Possibly, if you start at the game as a man character, probably one of the first opportunities for crafting you'll get. So, I'm going to head on into the crafting hall, which is over here. Now, I have already learnt a profession with this character, so I'm not going to take you quite from the very start of crafting, but I will show you how that works, explain how that works. However, for the purposes of not having you sit here for an hour watching me do this, I've started a little bit of the journey already. So, the first person you need to find is a master or mistress of apprentices. So here we have a mistress of apprentices. Straight away when you walk into the crafting hall, I'm going to have a chat with her. Now, you can see down here, I've got the option to change vocation, okay? So if I was to be starting this from the beginning, I'd be learning a vocation from scratch. If I wanted to, right now, I could change vocation. Currently, I am an armourer. So if I open my crafting panel, I'll just close that again, show you what I did. Down the bottom of the screen here, there is a little picture of an anvil, which is the crafting panel. So I click on that, and my crafting panel is open. So, as an armourer, I have access to the prospector, metalsmith, and tailor crafting professions. Now, the prospector mines metal nodes for ore, which you can then forge into ingots of purer metal, which you then use to make various things. So the metalsmith relies on the prospector profession to gather the materials to be able to make armour. The tailor is my third profession, and the tailor makes makes armour makes light and medium armour from hides gathered from defeating creatures, beasts of the field. Now, what you might notice is what the issue is with the tailor, of course. However, is in order to use those hides, you need to be able to cure them first, which I can't do in this profession. Now, that's one of the key points about the crafting in LOTRO. Each vocation has 3 different professions in it, but the way it works is to encourage people to trade. Is each vocation has at least one profession that people have to that can't rely on itself. Okay, so in my case, the tailor relies on a forester to actually cure the hides before I can use them as a tailor. All right, so if you take a look on the left, for example, the explorer vocation has the tailor and the forester professions, so the explorer can gather the hides and use the hides. to cure them to make things with the tailor, but they can't. But then they have the prospector, which gathers ore, but they can't make anything with the ore once they have gathered it. They can smelt it into ingots, but then they can't make anything. So the explorer can gather everything they need, but if they wanted metal armor or weapons, they'd need to find somebody else to make them. The armsman has the weaponsmith, the prospector, and the woodworker. So the weaponsmith relies on the prospector profession to gather the ore and the metals, and then the woodworker profession would be able to make wooden weapons and things. But if you're a woodworker, you need a forester to gather the wood. So, as I say, each profession relies on somebody else. Other vocations you have available are the jeweler, who can make jewelry and pocket items to boost your stats. They have the prospector, and they have the cook. Now the cook can create food that you can use to boost your morale and power regeneration, and to give you various other stat buffs during the game. The yeoman has the cook, the farmer, and the tailor. So we've already talked about the cook and the tailor. The farmer grows ingredients to be used by, for example, cooks. So the cook and the farmer go hand in hand, but then the tailor is the extra one. The woodsman has the woodworker, who can make wooden weapons and various class items. The forester and the farmer. So the woodworker can gather his own wood, his or her own wood, but the farmer is the extra profession. And then the historian has the scholar, weaponsmith, and farmer. So the farmer can create some ingredients that the scholar will use, and the scholar can then make potions and buffing scrolls and dyes for dyeing clothing, all that kind of thing. So there are a lot of different professions to choose from, but you have the keys to choose a vocation. So because this is a captain character, he wears heavy armor. So I thought the most useful thing to go for with him would be the armorer profession, which gives me the metalsmith and prospector. The tailor profession would be my secondary, which I would only use, which I might use if I can get somebody else to cure the hides for me. Okay, so there are 3 introduction quests to crafting, which you can take once you've chosen your vocation. I'm not going to do those tonight, but what I am going to do is I'm going to nip out and have a wander about and mine some ore, and I'm then going to show you. So to show you how that works, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to craft up some stuff and show you how the process of leveling through the crafting tiers works. All right. So I'm going to nip off to the woods to see if I can find some ore to mine. Now, first thing you'll notice when you learn your crafting professions, you'll have a new skill. For whichever profession you have, you'll have different ones. For me, I have the track mine skill. Now, if I turn that on, you'll notice on my map at the top, I now have a green icon appear there, which shows that there's a copper deposit nearby. Oh, and there it is over there. So that helps me to find resources when I'm out and about. So I'm going to go over to the copper deposit. And in order to use the copper deposit, I need to make sure I have my pick equipped. Unfortunately, my prospector's tools. Now, fortunately, I already have that equipped. So I'm just going to crack on and mine the node. And you'll see I have 2 chunks of copper ore, which I'm going to loot. And they're going to drop into my bag here. Okay. Now, if you look up at the top of the map, you see a little blue arrow there as well. Now that's directing me that there's a copper deposit that way, but it's off my map at the minute. Oh, actually it's close enough to see. There it is. So I'm going to head towards that one, and I'm going to pick that up as well. Okay. I'm going to mine that one. It's quite useful having that tracking system. It means you can wander about a little while and hopefully find items that you can mine on the landscape. So there I've got 2 chunks of copper ore again, and I also got an agate stone. Now, if you read the tooltip, it tells you it's an uncut, beautiful, multicoloured gemstone that can be polished by a jeweler. So I can't actually use the agate stone in my profession, but if I that's in my second bag. If I open up my second bag, the agate stones have landed in there. And now I might find in the crafting node, I might find gemstones. I might find chunks of rock salt. I might find chunks of prilled brimstone, or crude brimstone, or pale brimstone. I might find whetstones. I might find piles of salts and other things. I might find umber and a myriad other ingredients and things that I might find. At different levels, you will find different kinds of ingredients. And each of these, everything you pick up from mining a node is useful for one profession or another, whether it's for the scholar, like the salts and the sienna, whether it's for the jeweler, like the agates and the chunks of grey rock salt. Weaponsmith uses whetstones, and pale brimstone is useful for metalsmith. So it's worth hanging on to the resources that come out of the nodes. Even if you're not going to use them yourself, they're worth gold on the auction house. So hang on to them. Let's have a look around. Over here, just spotted some rowan branches. Now I can't pick these up because I am not a forester. But if I take my pick, if I take my pick to it, it won't let me. If I was a forester, as you can see, requires forester crafting ability. If I was a forester, then I could chop up that and use the wood. So, worth being aware, you will find branches and you'll find ore out on the landscape. Okay. I'm not going to go around forever looking for stuff, because actually I have already got a bunch of copper already in my bag. I'm going to quickly nip back to the crafting hall. I'm going to show you how to craft up a few bits of copper, and then I'm going to show you how to build your XP up to increase your crafting rep. It's funny actually, I recently introduced a friend to this game, and who'd been playing other MMOs for a long time, and it was remarkable actually how many things I had to teach him, because you know, even though you've played other games before, there's a lot to learn in LOTRO, and you know, I spent probably about a year to 18 months learning everything that I could for in LOTRO for myself, and then it wasn't until I had to explain the game to somebody else that I realised how much there is to know. So yeah, so that's one of the reasons for making this video. Right, okay, so I'm back in the crafting hall. There you'll find different kinds of crafting station around the place. So workbenches are used for tailors, for foresters, for jewelers, for farmers. Various professions use those to sift through ingredients. You have the oven if you're a cook, and then the study if you happen to be a scholar. Can't see one in here at the minute. Might be in a different room. And over here we have the forge, which is used by the metalsmith and by the weaponsmith and by the prospector to sort out metal ingots and craft them up. Okay, so if I click on the forge, my crafting window immediately comes up. I'm going to start with my prospector tab, because the prospector will process the resources that I have already collected. So you can see in my bag I've got 6 pieces of copper ore, 6 chunks of copper ore, and I have already earned quite a bit of experience towards my apprentice. I've nearly mastered my apprentice prospector profession. So I'll just explain. So if I click on smelting, I can turn my copper ore into 3 copper ingots. Each copper ingot takes 2 chunks of copper ore. So we're going to make those up now. You can either make 1, or you can change the quantity, or you can just make all. So I'm going to make all. So there are various levels of metal to gather in the game. The copper is tier 1. It's the earliest tier of metal to be collected. So you gather that at low levels. You can make armor that's useful between levels 1 and 10 with the copper. I've made that. Now, in order to make it into something useful, I need to refine it into bronze. Okay, so here, in order to make bronze, you need copper ingot and a tin ingot. Now, worth noting, because this was a really simple thing that I didn't realise was that difficult. My friend spent forever trying to find tin ingots, wondering where you got tin from. You don't mine it. That's the trick. You buy it from this chap, the supplier. If I click on the supplier,
what can I do for you?
now I can filter that if I want, but if I just scroll down, it's all in alphabetical order, and I can find the tin ingots I need from the supplier. When I get to the T, there we go, tin ingot. Okay, so I've got 43 copper ingots, I've got 22 tin, so I need the same number. So if I could buy 21, what I'll do is I'll press Alt and buy, so I can choose a quantity. I'll get 21, buy those, and then I've got 43 of each. So I'm going to go back to the forge. Don't worry, I am not going to sit here all night and make you listen while I make 43. But what I'm going to do, because I only need 10 XP on my crafting bar to completely master the prospector profession, I'm going to start by just making a couple of bronze ingots. I'm going to smith those up now, and you'll notice in about a few seconds time, boom, congratulations, you have mastered a crafting tier. You can now obtain critical success results from your recipes of that tier and can use optional ingredients to improve your critical success chance. Excellent, sounds good to me. So I'll explain a little bit about that. I'm going to go back to metalsmith, and I'm an apprentice metalsmith. We're absolutely down from 0. Now, as an apprentice, you get auto-granted recipes. So, armor level 7 I can make. So if I click on that, that's my bronze armor. At the minute, I've got 44 bronze ingots, and I only need 2 to make a piece of bronze armor, which is great. I can choose different ones. If I hover over the bronze armor, you can see the comparison between the bronze armor and the mail that I'm wearing. So the mail that I'm wearing is 184 armor. I'm wearing 300, and the one I can make is worth 351 armor. So obviously the armor is much better in that sense. But also the bronze armor that I can craft has added stats to might and vitality. So much better than what I'm wearing. I do have other options. As you can see, there's a select output. So if I click along, the dwarf make bronze armor adds me slightly different stats, so I get extra physical mitigation with that, which is great if I want to last a bit longer in combat but not do quite as much damage. That would be a good choice. But if I go to output 3, the elven bronze armor, now that's going to give me extra physical mastery rating. So in this case, the bronze armor is a bit of an all-rounder. The dwarf make is for extra physical mitigation, and the bronze elven armor is extra physical mastery. Now, because physical mastery is the most important stat for controlling how much damage you do, I'm going to go with that so that I can, so that I have something which is going to make me do a bit more damage. Oh, but I can't make it. That's because I've got the wrong tools equipped. I need my smithing hammer. So I'm going to go into my pack, and there we have a smithing hammer. I have to swap that out for my prospector's tools, and then I can make the armor. Off we go. And boom. 50 XP. Worth noting, you get XP from crafting as well. So if you have some low-level characters and you just want to boost up their crafting, you can actually get quite a long way in the game just by crafting. Some people level up. I've had 1 or 2 ults that I've leveled up to at least 25 just by crafting alone. So that's my character at the minute. I'm going to swap out for the bronze armor. It will tell me that it's going to bind to me permanently. That means I can only use it on this character, but that's fine. Yes, and boom, there's my elven bronze armor freshly made. Okay, but we don't want to give you that because we've got other options. Now, I could make my full set of armor here, but actually, if you can see under the greyed out bit here, earn mastery for this tier to create superior crafted items. Now, what I really want to do is I want the critical items. I want to get a critical success so I can have stronger items. So, what I'm going to do is I want to level up my crafting a bit. Now, I could make piece of armour after piece of armour after piece of armour, but it would take quite a long time. But luckily, we have a processing option here. Now, if I make the bronze shavings, I'll just go make all. What that's going to do is actually going to give me 8 crafting XP for each time I complete the recipe. And you can see my crafting bar filling up quite quickly. Not only that, but I'm getting 62 XP for every ingot every bronze shaving I make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to process those bronze ingots into bronze shavings. Then I'm going to process them back. And by the time I've done that, I will probably have completed that crafting tier of apprentice, and I'll be able to explain to you how critical success items work. If you notice in my bag, my bronze ingots are reducing over 2 every time. My shavings are going up by 4. I'm actually going to have a ton of shavings in here. Now the shavings are useless for anything except doing this, but it's quite a nice way of being able to process your ingredients and level up your tiers without having to, painstakingly make every item you can. Okay, so I've made all 21. I'm going to swap back to the bronze ingot recipe. I'm going to make all of those, and pretty soon, actually before I've even made the 21, I'm going to end up completing the apprentice tier. So here we go, and there we go. Okay, apprentice metalsmith proficiency. You can now obtain critical success results. Okay, and you'll notice I've unlocked a whole extra load of recipes. I've unlocked the journeyman tier, so that means I'll be able to make higher level armor than the apprentice. However, I don't have any resources for that at the minute, so I can't do that. Okay, so the next tier up from bronze is barrow iron. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close that down for now because I don't need it. Just quickly wait for my ingots to process. But while I'm doing that, I'll show you. So if I click that bronze armor that I made before, now I have an option down here that shows me that there's a possibility I might be able to make a better version of the same item. So you can see, if you notice, the top item in green gives me +6 might, +8 vitality. Bottom item in purple gives me +8 might and +11 vitality. It also has better armor value. If you look at the one I'm wearing, it has 351 armor, and this one has 413. So it's always worth trying to get the critical success. If I move over to the elven bronze armor again, which is what I made in the first place, I've got slightly less physical mastery on that if I get the critical result, but I also get extra critical rating. Now what that does is increases the chance of me making a critical hit, which will do way more damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make that. And what I've also got here, you'll notice the optional ingredient. If I look over here, I've got 5 lots of crude brimstone. Now if I use that, that increases my critical chance from 5% to 50%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a go at making that and see if I earn a critical success. Let's go for it. Smithing 1 of 1. Fingers crossed. Hey, first time lucky. Well, what about that? Thank you for that, considering I'm making a video here. So there we go. I've now got the thick elven bronze armor instead of the elven bronze armor. So I am definitely going to wear that instead. Bind it to you permanently? Yes, sir. I would like to wear the thick elven bronze armor. Fantastic. Magic. Okay. And essentially, that's how we do it. So we use the... In summary for this, we use the prospector profession to gather the ingredients. We make sure we've got our pick equipped while we're gathering. We also have our pick equipped while we're smelting the ingots. We then switch to the metalsmith profession. To level it up, we can use the processing, and then when we want to make something, we click on the recipe and we craft it in the window. If I want to increase the chance of getting the critical success, I'm going to use the extra item here. And remember, you can only make critical success results if you've passed the first tier of the apprentice. Now, I'm going to move on to journeyman here. What I can do is if I had some barrow iron, I could fill up my first row of journeyman. But I wouldn't be able to make any critical items on journeyman until I fill up my mastery on apprentice. So important to remember that in each tier of the crafting system, there are always 2 sections to fill up. And you have to completely fill the first section before you can move on to the next, and yada yada yada. It keeps going up. Alright. Well, I'm going to leave it there for now. What I might do maybe tomorrow or another day in a future video is I'll come on a higher level character and show you just how many crafting tiers there are open to you as options. But in the meantime, I hope that's been really useful for you. You know, by all means, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and let me know if there's anything else you'd like a tutorial on. It's still early days, but so I'm happy to take your feedback and hear about what you'd like to see. Brilliant. Thanks very much, and have a nice evening.